Hey, peace. Welcome back to another episode of the Money Codes. My name is Joel, here to give you today's Money Code fix. And on today's episode, I want to go over a topic that is very important, in my opinion. That is the importance of your personal info as it pertains to your credit profile. Your personal information, meaning your name, your address, your number, the personal information that they are reporting on the credit bureaus. I'm going to go over in this video why this might be the most important section that's on your credit reports. This is a section that I see typically people skip over when trying to apply for credit card products or try to go to different lenders and different banks. But by the end of this video, you're going to realize how important the information that they're reporting to your credit profile is. Let's just jump right in. So number one, as I just mentioned, when people are trying to get their credit in order, or when people, let's say they have a decent credit profile, they have a 680, they have a 720, they're trying to apply for some credit card funding, they're going to different credit unions and different banks trying to set up a funding sequence. Most people tend to focus on hard inquiries, like how do I dispute hard inquiries off of my credit report? For whatever reason, in the credit restoration industry, on YouTube, on Facebook, people tend to think that hard inquiries are super impactful, and they're really not. We already broke down the percentages. Hard inquiries can take down your score, but they're not as heavy as people think. I see people debate which letters are like the magic letters, this 609 letter, this 611 letter, this Metro 2 challenge, this software. I see that being debated a lot. I see people trying to ask for authorized user hookups and ways where they can trick the FICO system and get their scores up. I see a lot of this being talked about, but I don't see people really hammering in their personal info and why you need to tighten your personal info on your credit profile. So I'm going to give you a very quick example of what FICO looks at, what FICO is giving to these lenders. We're going to really see how the lenders are really looking at our credit profile. So on this screen right here, I have two people. I have the stylish lady on the left, I have this dude on the right, and below it you can see the number of names. So if you pull up your credit report, you may see several different variations of your name. You might see your name with a middle initial. You might see your first name and your maiden name. You might see your first name and your last name. You may be divorced and you've changed your name again. The more variations that you have of your name, your address, your employer, your phone number, the more you're triggering the FICO risk score. And the FICO risk score is basically just an algorithm, is their computerized system where they're trying to determine whether or not they can trust you or how much they can trust you. And that's the FICO risk score. So if you were, hypothetically, if you were the president of a bank and these two people came into your branch and they were trying to get a loan, and one person has multiple variations of their name, that same person has 3, 4, 5 different types of addresses, 3, 4, 5 different variations of their current employer, that automatically looks a certain way, right? A lender is going to look at that and say, why does this person have so many names, so many different addresses, so many different employers? Are they not able to hold on to a job? Why are they moving from place to place? If I give this person $10,000, am I going to have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to just even find this person? Just having a cluttered, disorganized, unupdated address and name, that alone can stop you from getting an approval from a loan or an approval from a credit card. And I'm going to show you that, a real life example in a second. And then you compare it to the guy on the right. Right, let's say they had similar credit scores, similar FICO scores, but the guy on the right has just one variation of his name. He has his first name, he has his last name, he has one address, and then maybe he has 1 or 2 employers listed on his credit profile. He will need to update that just to be like perfect, but if you wanted to see who was more stable in the eyes of a lender, just based off of this information, who would you lean towards, right? If I wanted to chase down the guy on the right, he only has one name, he only has one address, he only has one phone number, 1 or 2 employers. He seems more stable, even if it's just on paper, right? Even if it's just on paper. These lenders, they're not going to be able to know our personalities. So based off of what's on our credit profile, that's what's going to determine the image that we present ourselves to these banks and to these credit unions. So an example of this is, if you go to annualcreditreport.com, I made a video on this several months back. I said this is a video, especially because of the we're under the COVID era, basically, where you're able to go to this website and you're able to acquire all three of your credit reports from Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion absolutely for free. You're able to do that every single week to stay on top of your credit profile. What some people may have noticed, you might have seen this screen which says, based on the information provided, we are unable to verify your identity. For your privacy and security, please complete these steps. So basically, and let me go back. So basically, if you try to go to annualcreditreport.com and you are, let's say, this girl here with 4 names, 3 addresses, 4 employers, 4 different phone numbers, and you try to go to annualcreditreport.com, they're trying to match the information that you're putting in this application to what's on your stored credit profile. So if you put in your current name as it is today, your current phone number, your current address, but you still have an address from 3 years ago, 4 years ago on file, Equifax in this example, the credit bureaus are going to say, hey, this doesn't match up. We don't know if you're a hacker. We don't know if you're someone who's trying to play a game. We're not sure. So because we're not sure, we're going to say no. We're not going to give you your credit reports. And I put here on the right hand side, you might see this when applying for credit card products. This is also very important. So even if you have a 700 credit score and you're this person on the left, again, multiple names, multiple addresses. If you go to American Express and if you go to Chase and you're trying to do an online application, because you're applying online and you're not seeing a physical person face to face, the computer system is basically just trying to match up what they have on file and what you're putting in. So regardless of what your credit score is, if you're the girl on the left hand side and you have just a whole bunch of stuff, outdated crap on your credit profile, in your personal information, you can likely see a letter similar to this that says, hey, at this time, we're not going to be able to approve you. And normally in that situation, you're going to get a letter in the mail. If your credit score is on point and you just have some outdated information, you can call the reconsideration line and you can provide them with additional information, and then they can approve you for that credit card or whatever it is that you're trying to apply for. But again, this is just another example of if your information, things that people don't even think about. You're thinking about hard inquiries and how to get AUs, but just because your personal information is just cluttered, that alone can just be stopping you from getting your application. You're over here thinking that these credit unions and these banks have this personal vendetta against you, but meanwhile, because of the FICO risk score, because of their own algorithms, because they're trying to do their own fraud prevention, they're declining you for something as basic as this right here. Right. So that's why I wanted to give you the example of annualcreditreport.com. Again, check out my video I did on this. Even for myself, there was information on my personal side that I didn't update, and I had to call them and I had to get that updated in order for me to get my Equifax report. So regardless of whatever your credit score is, this is something that you need to pay attention to. Now, we need to look at this. So how does your personal information even get on your credit report? So basically, anytime you apply for a credit card, a loan, you're putting any sort of application and you're giving it to a creditor, you're giving it to a bank. However you're spelling your name, however you're spelling your address, that's how they're going to put it into the computer, and that's how it's going to be sent over to Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. So number one, you need to make sure that anytime you do an application, you're putting it in the same way every single time. Don't put your maiden name on some applications and then you're putting your married name on some other applications. All that's going to do is just jumble up your credit profile. That's not going to help you. Be consistent even with how you put in addresses. Be consistent with how you put in your information. Number two, so if you are a junior, if you're a senior, you may have a mixed or merged credit profile, and that might get sent over to the credit bureaus. So again, if you've lived with your parents, your father is the senior, you're a junior, the addresses are the same, the names are very similar, those are enough data points where the credit bureaus might just be able to just compile all of it together, and that's how you may see your father's credit cards on your credit profile and vice versa. And you'd be surprised how often mixed and merged credit profiles exist just for this reason. Number three, so if you have collections from 5 years ago and they butchered your name, so sometimes you might just put your information in correctly, but whichever collection company, whoever was doing the data entry for that company, they might not have been paying attention. They might have just been putting the information just willy-nilly all into the system. And now they have attached your credit profile to a butchered name, right? So you may have not done anything wrong. Somebody else may have done something wrong, but regardless, that's still your credit profile. That's not their responsibility. This is ultimately your responsibility. This is why I say make sure you go to annualcreditreport.com every week, especially since they have this little promo there. Every week, just make sure that everything that is reporting is accurate, right? And then lastly, this accumulates over time. So again, you do an application, you remix your name every single time, depending on how you feel for that day. The person inputting that information, maybe putting it however they feel like it for that day. This is what I want you guys to pay attention to. So to sum up this video, make sure that you are sending out your personal update letters before you do your disputes. So some of you guys who have collections, some of those collections are attached to addresses that are outdated, that are addresses that you lived at 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. If you're able to remove those addresses, and I know it's not always easy, it's not just you send it out one time and everything gets updated all at once. You may have to send out your letters once every other week. If you're doing like monthly disputes, you may need to send it out once every 2 to 3 weeks until they're able to get everything cleaned up, right? Don't quit on the first attempt. And then also, as I mentioned before, make sure your profile is clean prior to applications. If you're trying to get ready to do a credit card sequence and you've been doing what you're supposed to, you've been paying on time, you have a good credit score now, your credit score has improved, make sure before you start doing your applications, go back to annualcreditreport.com, pull your credit reports and just triple check, make sure all your info, all your names, all your addresses, all your phone numbers, all your employers, make sure everything is as clean and synced up as physically possible. Make sure you do that before you do your credit card applications. Otherwise, you're going to get that screen, as I mentioned over here, where Chase and Navy Federal or whoever, they're going to send you a letter that says, hey, we're not able to approve you at this point. Then you're going to have to call the reconsideration line. Then you're going to have to jump through hoops. Then you're going to have to send over additional documentation. So save yourself the headache, do everything ahead of time, and it's going to make your dispute processes a lot easier. It's going to make your credit card applications a lot easier. It's going to make identity theft a lot harder. Trust me, make sure you do this. Make sure you do it right. Be patient with it. Send out as many update letters as needed until it's done properly. All right, guys, so this is all I got for you for today. As always, if you got some good content out of this channel, out of this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Also, if you need help getting your credit back on point, you can download my free PDF at creditcodes.com. I'll put the link down below. Or if you want my company to do the disputes for you, go down into the description below, atmcreditsolutions.com. Put in your information. Let's set up an evaluation for you. And aside from that, I'm going to check you out in the next video. Peace.